I'm Joey, and joining me today to talk sonar performance and getting the most out of your graphs is Nathan from C Clear Power. Nathan, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
I have really struggled in looking at the pros graphs and then looking at the performance that I'm getting out of my live scope. My question to you, Nathan, is why doesn't my graph look like the pros? So Nathan, can you tell me about the factors that really affect my sonar performance and how to get the best performance?
The only way to get the most out of your electronics is get 100% clean power. Every boat built out there now says they have clean power. It says a sticker on it. It's not really clean power.
And what does clean power mean?
Clean power is running direct to a battery, yes, but where you get EMI is at the console and at the bow. You get that at the console and at the bow where you're making your connections for your units. It's not really back there by the batteries. The way you make your connection at the console and at the bow decides whether you get clean power or not. The only way that you're going to get true clean power is if you eliminate what's called a ground loop. So if you run to fuse panels or bus bars in a boat, I don't care if you got a 1-gauge wire run to it, you're gonna get EMI into your power source because the power is gonna jump from ground to ground to ground on that bus bar or that fuse panel. And so when that power is jumping from one ground to the next, there's nothing to protect it. So any other types of power that's in the console, live wells, lights, pumps, trolling motor, whatever it is that's got a voltage supply there, can jump into your power. Our connectors get all the grounds touching, so it eliminates the ground loop, so the power is never jumping out of our wire, so other power sources can't come into our power. So there's a big misconception of what is true clean power and whether voltage affects your picture clarity. It's not really the case. The only way to get the most out of your units is really clean power. So you can have 24 volts going to your unit. You're not gonna see a better performance out of your units on 24 volts as you are 12.3, which is what most of these units require. As long as you're over that threshold, the units have a mechanism built into it that's going to regulate that voltage. A higher voltage is going to do only one thing for you. That's going to decrease your amp draw. So yes, your battery might last a little longer because you're not pulling as many amps on it, but you're not going to get a better picture because of it.
Sure.
So the only way to get the most out of your picture and get the best picture, see out further on live sonar, see out further on side scan, pick up your sonar when you come off pad faster, is to get clean power. And that processor in the unit doesn't have to filter out all that EMI before it actually gets the information that you're giving it and then displaying it on your unit.
So we know the problems are electromagnetic interference and maintaining adequate voltage. How do we ensure that? What is the solution here? Let's start with the battery.
120 amp hour lithium that you can use for cranked, or your house is the battery of my choice. For most situations, that's gonna be enough amp hours. Sometimes you might need to bump up to 160 amp hour.
And 120 amp hour to have the length of service over a fishing day.
Right.
Okay.
And that's if you're charging that battery throughout the day. If you're just draining it down, that 120 is going to be down there, probably 10 to 20% if you're just running a dedicated C Clear harness to the battery. If you got 4 units in a live scope or active target or something, you're probably going to be in that 25 to 35% range if you're not putting any charge throughout the day on it.
This is not weenie wire, right?
No. Customers did it and they call and they're like, I was not expecting this. You really just don't understand what it takes to carry that power, especially 21 foot in a bass boat. It takes a lot of wire strands to be able to carry that power, especially if you've got 2 units in a live scope. Yeah, so we try to dumb it down and make it as easy for the customer as possible. So the harness will come with 2 big fuses at the back, so you can run multiple units on each line, and then you'll need to select your inline fuse holders based off of how many units you're running, whether you've got 360, live scope, active target. And then if you ever have more than 3 at the bow or 3 at the console, so example, if you have 2 units of 360 and a live scope,
right,
you're gonna need this adapter splitter.
Got it.
So we don't really recommend putting more than 3 of our fuses into our connectors.
Yeah.
It kind of just gets a little packed in there.
Got it.
So we have this adapter splitter kit where you'll just take the adapters out of the bag, strip back the single run on each adapter, plug it into the connector that comes on the harness, and now you have two grounds and two positives to run into.
Sure.
So then you can run 3 and 3. So you can run up to 6 power sources at the bow and 6 at the console.
Got it.
12 total, which a lot of people aren't doing that, but we've engineered the harness to support it.
I had the question when I was installing my harness of why do I need 2 sets of fuses? You're saying the big fuses for running everything upstream pretty much of the batteries, and then individual fuses for each individual unit you're powering.
Yeah, to be NEMA certified and up to code in the boat, you have to have the circuit protected on both ends. So either by a fuse panel under the console and at the bow, or with our system, how we designed it in line, you have to have this inline fuse holder that goes behind each unit, each live scope power or wire, 360, all those power sources are protected by its own 5-amp fuse. The big fuses at the back might not blow if we have 10-amp surge at the console. It's not gonna blow these fuses in the back because we've made these fuses bigger to be able to support, 10 or 15 amps going on a single run. But these 5-amp fuses are gonna individually protect each unit. The big fuses are gonna protect the harness so it doesn't burn up all the way down. And just in case of an emergency, we've never had any, problems like that. God willing, it stays that way. Another question we get is, how many fuses do I need? You're gonna wanna get a fuse if you have, for any of your units, so Lowrance, Humminbird, Raymarine, Garmin, Simrad, It doesn't matter. MBT, any of those MFDs, you're gonna wanna get an inline fuse holder for, 360, live scope, Ethernet boxes.
Any of those boxes.
Yeah, so anything that's for your network for your units, if you have a NEP2 box for Lowrance, any type of external power source that's not going for your units, you want to leave this harness dedicated strictly to your units and your transducers so you get clean power to them.
Understood. And one more thing we didn't talk about, comes with a on-off switch. As this is a straight run and you're not building it into any of your other switches in your boat, it's got its own dedicated switch, so you can turn the whole thing off when you charge your battery.
Correct. So like I said earlier, the harness is going to come with 2 big fuses. You can see the switch just has a on off. It's just a 2-way switch. So you'll put your fuses on one, you'll put your jumper on the other.
Yep.
You'll run your jumper to the positive lead on the cranking battery, and then the 2 negative leads will go straight to the negative terminal on the cranking or the house battery, depending on where you're running it to.
Any graph or module that you're delivering power to should have its own
inline fuse holder. And if you have more than 3 at the bow, you're gonna need the adapter splitter.
Understood.
If you have more than 3 at the console, you're gonna need the adapter splitter.
Got it.
So the times that you're gonna see an adapter splitter the most is if a customer has 3 units in a live scope at the bow, or 2 units in a 360 and a live scope at the bow, or at the console if they have 2 units in an Ethernet box and a NEMA power wire. Sometimes they'll need an adapter there, but it's pretty simple. You just, less than 3, you don't need the adapter. More than 3 at any location, you need an adapter.
Got it.
Any power source you're adding to the unit or to the harness needs its own fuse holder, and pretty much anything that takes 12 volts and goes for your units needs to go into the harness. You don't need to put anything else in the harness like hydro waves.
The harness is really not only making sure that we're running clean and adequate power to each graph, but we're protecting our whole system and each one individually.
Yeah, I like to use this analogy a lot. So if you could imagine a truck, if you got a full tank of gas and you get water in it, probably ain't gonna go anywhere, right? You can have 16 volts going to your units. If it's got dirty power, it's just like having water in the gas in your truck. That gauge might show 16 volts, but if that processor has to process all that EMI and dirty power before it can process the information you're sending it, you're not going to get to see that clean, crisp picture that we're all looking for. And so that's what the harness does. It gets the proper voltage to the units, and it gets clean power to the units, so your units perform to its full potential. When I teach my sonar classes, I teach them to really get used to learning these settings and why the setting is used in a certain situation, because water clarity is different every day.
Totally.
Bottom hardness is different depending on what portion of the lake you're in. Sometimes definitely going to different lakes. So your gain's got to be higher on a softer bottom. Your gain's got to be lower on a harder bottom or you'll blow it out. When you have the proper voltage and clean power going to your units are going to look the same all the time. So you don't have that variable of okay, I have dirty power or my batteries are getting low throughout the day and now I have to crank it up higher or lower. You're gonna have a constant there. So now you can really start messing with your settings throughout the day and throughout different lakes and water clarity differences to really dial your units in.
Sure. You know, when I started trying to get the best performance out of my graphs, I was looking for that perfect set it and forget it bunch of settings. And what I learned through time on the water is just what you're saying. There's no one fix all.
No, there's not. I will say, as far as like on a live scope, I do like to bump that gain up, and then I like to go and take my color gain up to about 85.
Yep.
I try to use as least amount of filters as possible, because the more filters you're using, the more that you're, filtering out some stuff that you actually want to see, or you're actually slowing down the way you're seeing your bait. You'll notice, especially on like forward facing, the more that you try to get the picture clearer and use the filters and things, the more delay you see in what your bait or the fish that you're trying to see. So that's why you want to get clean power. You don't want to have to try to filter out all that stuff.
Sure.
You want to have the cleanest power going to the processor as possible, so you can use the least amount of filters as possible. That's going to allow you to see your bait further. It's going to allow you to see your bait and it not be delayed when it's falling, because you're filtering out so much other stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's a huge deal.
That's really cool. And the whole point here is all the perfect settings, the secret settings, none of that's going to help you unless you're starting with good, clean power.
One of the major questions we get is, do I need this adapter splitter? So this adapter splitter is going to come with a positive and a negative adapter. And what you would do is you would strip it back, the side that has just one run, and you would plug it into the connector that already comes on the harness. So anytime I'm using these connectors, and I always want to take the end piece of this connector off of the harness, run it up onto either my fuses or my adapter. That way I can get all of my fuses into this adapter. I can get all my units into my fuses. I can make sure they're all tight, because trying to work with this while it's in the boat, it's a lot easier to just get all your connections done on this side, pull on them, make sure they're good and tight, then put it back on the harness. So I want to take the end cap off, run it up on the wire, and then put it back into the harness. You want to spread this wire out a little bit, just enough to where none of those strands are outside of the connector. But the way this connector is designed to work is it spreads the wires out around the centerpiece of this.
There's a little cone in the middle.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So you don't want to like twist your wires up, or it won't let the wires spread out and allow the connector to come down through the center of the wires and twist it around.
Sure.
If you do that, then the connector can't get the connection that we really want it to get, because it's got the wires like wrapped up and just doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. So you just don't twist your wires. Take the connector, the end of the connector off the centerpiece of the connector, run it up on the wire that you're wanting to put into the connector, and then tighten it down. And then, make sure that the wires kind of spread out as they come in. Same for here, which you won't have to put these on. They'll come ready to rock.
Right.
But when you're taking your power wire for your unit or your live scope or 360, whatever it is, you want to do the same thing. So you want to take the end of this connector, run it up on your power cord, and then twist this on.
I'd never used these types of connectors before, but they're rock solid. I think I've seen a video of you picking up one of these giant 80-pound AGM batteries with the harness to display how strong that connection is.
Obviously, if you're not tightening them down or using them properly, they're not going to perform the way they're supposed to perform. But when these things are installed properly, that battery right there, 87 pounds, picked it up, swung it around, like they're rock solid. So that's it. Like, to install this harness, you pull it through the boat, jumper here, fuses here, jumper to the positive post, negative terminals to the negative post. Take your fuses, fuse each of your units or your transducers. You'll run them straight into the harness if you don't have more than 3 at the bow or 3 at the console. If you do have more than 3, you'll run your fuses into the adapter splitter.
Right.
Your ground wires are just going to go either straight into the black connector on the harness or straight into the black connectors on the adapter if you need that. And that's it.
That is it.
And the beauty of this harness is the connectors are reusable. So once you pull this harness through your boat, you don't have to go pull and wire again.
Yeah.
If you want to add or remove things, these connectors twist on and off.
Yeah.
You just change your fuse holder out to your new power wire, or add a fuse and a new power wire, and you're ready to rock and roll. So, you know, with all the changing with what you can run and what circuit you're on, and
or just updating,
or just updating.
Right? Yep.
You get this harness and you buy it one time, and you're not spending multiple Saturdays messing with your boat.
That's awesome. Installation is so easy that I can do it. And you know, I really struggled for a long time to get the best performance, specifically out of my live scope, but it's certainly improved my side imaging as well, and my 2D sonar. And hopefully this video will help you avoid that pitfall and make your graph look just like the pros. Nathan, thanks so much for taking us through it. We really appreciate it. All of this great product is available at tacklewarehouse.com.